This is the youth requirement, whether it's Liverpool World Congress or India, Indian youth. The issue is, how are you going to live in peaceful and prosperous world? We are also thinking in the same way. We in India are working for a developed nation by 2020, another 5 years' time, whether India can become an economically developed nation. All our governments, if they concentrate 5 years, definitely 300 million people, 1/3 of the population below poverty line can be pushed up. But what is the resource for that? Resource our youth. We have 650 million youth. Ignitement of the youth is the most powerful resource on the earth, above the earth, under the earth. And then small scale industries and agriculture and big electronic industries. If we push that, definitely employment potential will increase and the capacity of youth will increase and poverty-free India is possible. You want to live in such type of India? Yeah. Now we in India, I am sure the experience gained from the 6th of global population, in case 1 billion people become prosperous with value system, citizens value system, and will be valuable for the entire world if we perform. We have to perform. Now let me now talk about the current state of the national economy, because I am talking the future. Let me come to the current problem. India today, from a GDP angle, we are the third largest economy in terms of GDP. Indian economy growing at the average, as you all know, 9% per annum in 2009, up to 2009. Then following the US originated crisis, Indian economy, of course our own crisis that we created, but Indian economy, then the Indian economy got affected due to global economic turbulence. Nevertheless, it grew about 7% in 2009. In 2010, the GDP growth once again started reaching 9%. Then in 2011, again with the Europe originated, this time Europe originated, our own Indian originated crisis, adding to the turbulence, the economy slowed down, but nevertheless it grew at 6.9% GDP. The slowdown became more pronounced in 2012, last 2013, partially attributed to the currency rate crisis, and the economy grew at 4.7 and 4.5% in 2012-2013 respectively. In the year 2014, that is last year, the GDP growth of India was 5.6%, expected to rise 6.7%, long way to go to 9 to 10%. If you want to become economically developed, our GDP growth has to be minimum 9%. Now the two trends emerge here. First, India resilient economy when it comes to the dependence on external factor as shown 2008-2010. However, Indian economy has its own domestic factors of dependence, largely due to trade deficits, which can undermine the growth rates. Now what we do? Now the innovation and economic development, I am going to talk to you next 5 to 10 minutes, okay? Next 5 to 10 minutes you can tolerate. Oh, good guys you are all. I was asking myself, what type of innovation is needed to enrich the Indian economy in the present circumstances? Like you are also in a similar question. I had discussion on the subject with many experts. It came to light that the Indian economy, is our analysis, that the Indian economy will be less affected due to the world financial crisis of USA or Europe. This is due to number one, if you don't agree, you have to tell me. Due to number one, liberalization of process in India has its own check and balances consistent with the unique social requirements of the country. Secondly, the Indian banking system has always been conservative, which has prevented the crisis. Okay, good thing you can say that. Third one, Indian psyche is generally saving-oriented. Living within the means is a part of the mindset. Of course, our middle class, the 300, 400 million population, their economy, they are stabilization of the economy. Now friends, with the Indian, now however at the same time, India's trade deficits, which is excess of imports over exports, is a matter of concern. And last year it stood $190 million. The major factor behind this is the import of crude oil, is about $170 billion. Or 87% of the total trade deficit is followed by import of gold. This financial year the number is expected to reduce as a result of the falling global oil prices, but it will not be a phenomena, it will, for some time it will exist. This is the time technological innovation has to be encouraged. Your thinking, regional, particularly agriculture, rural sector where 600 million people live. And rural sector through value addition, small and medium scale industry need more attention and the enterprise are making higher levels of contribution to the GDP. I foresee possibilities of creating new markets through rural potential and employment, giving rise to interesting possibilities of public-private community partnership and the international partnership. Above all, we need effective policy alignments to suit the condition. All the scientists and technologists have to work in appropriate region-specific rural technologies to transform Indian rural sector into a vibrant socio-economic entity. This should spur exports and rely on the non-oil imports. Another area which of course needs to be pursued, the area of energy independence, which is my favorite area, which means freedom from fossil fuel. That's how I started, by setting a mission mode program in hydro, solar, nuclear, biofuels and wind power. We need to set 100% energy independence target by the year 2030 to create an economy which is not burdened by the weight of our energy demands. Friends, now let me give my visualization, particularly for young population, young people who have assembled here. Now let me give my visualization of India during 2020. We are 2015, another 5 years time. If you all work and the government pushes this point, definitely something good thing will happen. Distinctly proud of the nation, a nation where the rural and the urban divide is reduced to a thin line. 600,000 villages we have. 700 million people, 70% of the people live in the rural area. That's why I propagated the idea of what's called PURA, providing urban amenities in the rural area. A nation where there is equitable distribution and adequate access to energy and quality water. A nation where agriculture, industry, service sector work together in symphony. A nation where education value system is not denied to any meritorious candidates because of societal or economic discrimination. A nation which is the best destination for the most talented scholars, scientists and investors. A nation where the best healthcare is available to all. It's all dream. We have to work for it. A nation where the governance is responsive, transparent and corruption free. A nation where the poverty has been totally eradicated, illiteracy removed and crimes against women and children are absent. None in the society feels alienated. This is the society we should visualize. A nation that is one of the best places to live in and is proud of its leadership. How do you do that? How do we do that? To achieve the distinct goal for India, we have the mission of transforming India into an economically developed nation. We have identified 5 areas where India has a core competence for integrated action. Agriculture, our farmers are doing well, but food processing, value addition, we have to do very important. Education, healthcare, particularly women education in our country, very important. Healthcare will come automatically. Then information communication technology connecting 600,000 villages through satellite communication or fiber optics communication, reliable and quality electric power, self-reliant critical technology. These 5 areas are closely interrelated. If progressed in a coordinated way, will lead to food, economic and national security, achieving energy independence. Now friends, I don't know whether I can talk about this, because I started with you the value system, righteousness in the heart. Where there's a righteousness in the heart, there's a beauty in the character. In continuation, I don't know how many industrialists are here. Few may be there. I am promoting what the idea called profit with the integrity. Profit with integrity. Friends, as many of you as students are also here, let me share an important thought with all of you. Profit with integrity is to sustain growth, according to me. How is it possible? We need to have a national ethics for sustained growth and peace. Where from starts? I am starting like this. A nation, if you can always say different thing. If you have an idea, you tell me. According to me, nation has to have ethics in all tasks for sustained economic prosperity and peace. This is the assumption. Now, if nation is to have ethics, society has to promote ethics and value system. Society has to promote ethics and value system. If society is to have ethics and value system, families should adhere to ethics and value system. You agree? If families have to get involved with ethics and value system, parenthood should have inbuilt ethics. It becomes a spiritual home. Then parental ethics come from great learning, value-based education, creation of a clean environment that leads to the righteousness in the heart, which I started. Let us all resolve, we will carry this message to our home, family, business, state, and the nation. I hope we will do it. If you don't do it, I'll catch you. Okay. Now the economic development. Now next stage, I am going to work with you now. You can't be silent. Economic development, competitiveness, and creative leadership. I am trying to combine. What is that? Economic development, competitiveness, and creative leadership. I am starting with economic development, going to the creative leadership. New thoughts, okay? Now, I don't know whether young fellows will work with me now. Let me discuss the linkage between national economic development and creative leadership. First, I am starting. A nation's economic development is powered by competitiveness. Powered by competitiveness. Now, competitiveness powered by, can you guess? Competitiveness powered by, yes, knowledge power. Almost you are right, knowledge power. The knowledge power is powered by, can you guess? Technology and innovation.